So I'm just gonna do a quick short video about the debate last night because I'm getting ready for work. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm gonna be walking around. I'm getting dressed. I'm gonna make myself some food, and then I gotta go to work. I started a video and I had to do it over again because at some point my shit stopped recording. Really pissed me off, and so we're all the way back to the beginning again. Anyways, JD Vance spoke short, sweet, and to the point the whole night. Walz looked terrified the whole fucking time. You'll note, like, the look on his face was one of, like, oh my god, what have I gotten into? Like, he just looked scared the whole fucking time. Vance did stutter a little bit and stumble over his words a couple times. It was high stress. So did Walz, for that matter. You'll notice that Vance did a better job humanizing himself and his position. Walz did not. He just came off as an old man out of touch and just an old politician, and he wanted to seem homely and friendly, but the dude is a self-avowed communist. So, like, any delusion you have that he's gonna, like, care one way or the other about... there we go. I'm drinking my girlfriend's booze. That he's gonna care about the American people. Look, dude, the reason why they allowed him in communist China at the time that he claimed to be over there, you remember, oh, is it true you were there during the protests at Tiananmen Square? The only people that could be allowed in the country at that time were confirmed commies. So this dude is most definitely a commie. And that's your vice president. Now, he's got a terrible poker face. It was just a debate. I mean, it was a serious debate. It's a big deal. Vance and him are under some pressure to do really good. You have to do good. It's the only debate you get with your opponent before the elections, which is like a month away. So yeah, the heat is on. There's some pressure, but do you think that's pressure? Just wait until you get to a situation where you have to negotiate a peace deal or sit there in a diplomatic function for some kind of events overseas, abroad, with two countries at war, for example. Now, there's some stress. Lives might actually be lost based upon what you say. Do you want the dude with the terrible poker face that looked terrified the whole fucking time? Or do you want the guy that sat there and didn't overtalk his opponent and kept his cool and kept his answers brief and to the point? The whole time Vance was speaking, he kept it tight. He ran out of time once or twice. And half the time, he actually finished his points before he ran out of time, before they stopped his timer. That's pretty impressive. Meanwhile, if you had a stopwatch on you and you actually paid attention to the time intervals where they were talking, they let Walz run over and not correct him and say, oh, Mr. Walz, you're out of time. They did a couple times, but there was times where he actually went about 2 minutes and 12 seconds, I believe, on one question, and on another one, I believe it was something to the tune of 2 minutes, 8 seconds. As soon as he got two minutes, they shut JD down. They cut JD's mic one time when all JD was doing was making a quick counterpoint. They were told at the beginning of the debate they were allowed to fact check each other as long as they had the consent of the moderators. The moderators provided consent and then revoked it and muted JD Vance's mic. JD Vance won not just because of his poise, not just because of his easily confirmed points, not just because he avoided certain controversies and kept things pretty diplomatic, not just because he refused to actively attack his opponent on the stage and simply held him to account for what he said and otherwise treated him as a comrade, because in government, governors and Congress and Senate all should work together, and Vance acknowledges this, and in his behavior and his demeanor, he respected his opponent. Walz, to his credit, was respectful to his opponent as well, matching Vance's energy. But all the points he made were complete bullshit, and it was just more talking points. You had Walz trying to blame Trump for all these economic woes when Vance kept driving home, bear in mind, Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris. And for those of you who don't know, just in case you need a reminder, when Biden put forward that terrible budget that started the descent into hell for inflation and basically made paupers out of most of us, Kamala Harris was actually the acting agent that inflicted that upon us, because while Biden pushed it to the fucking Congress, it was a tie. It was like they couldn't push it through, and she was the tiebreaker vote. So if it wasn't for her participating in that vote, we would have never gotten the levels of inflation that we now suffer under. So it was Harris personally who fucked us all into oblivion financially with her tie-breaking vote. And this is a fact. So, bear that in mind when you vote your conscience. You know, if all you care about is a woman being in office who claims to be black, whose black half was the slave owner family in her fucking family tree. So the black half you're voting for, because she's Indian and black-ish, you know, Jamaican, that half of her family were slave owners. And you want that bitch to fucking represent the black people? Like, so black people just want to vote for slave owners now? Like, verified, bona fide slave owners? That's cool. Then again, you know, crabs in a bucket and all that. I don't expect a whole lot from them. Their culture is shit and we all know it. And we just like to pretend otherwise. I started recording this video. I poured myself a drink and I realized I stopped looking for my skillet. I can't find my little skillet anywhere. Very frustrating. I like to use a little skillet for my eggs. I have this large skillet, but I like to use my little skillet and I don't know where it is. It's kind of gay. Whatever. Yes, I use gay in a derogatory fashion. Large skillet it is. So anyways, I just wanted to do a little video about that debate last night because I just thought it was amazing that Vance, and just as a parting shot, just to let you know, the reason why they brought up Tiananmen Square for Walz is because Minnesota has one of the largest concentrations of Muslims in the whole country of the United States. So he's got to not alienate himself from those constituents. But also the DNC relies heavily upon China's economy for their fucking backroom dealing, kickbacks, bribes, and other shady financial forays. So they can't piss off China. Now, China uses slave labor in their labor force, and those slaves happen to be Uyghur Muslims. So the people in China being enslaved are Muslims. So Walz, being a communist and having ties with China, which he does, as all communists do, they have ties with every communist country. They gave him an easy out by fact-checking whether he was there or not for Tiananmen Square, which was like a nothing burger issue that was not even a controversy or anything anyone cared about. It was just another one of those times where he misspoke and made a claim that wasn't true, just like his stolen valor. And by giving him that deus ex and allowing him to quibble over what time he was in China and not addressing his feelings towards China, not addressing his feelings towards the slave labor, which J.D. Vance, by the way, did bring up, and you note that Walz did not touch that with a 10-foot pole. When J.D. Vance started talking about slave labor instead of our own American workers and whatnot, Walz had nothing to fucking say, and that's because Walz needs the Muslims in fucking Minneapolis not to hate him, and he also needs China not to hate him if he ever hopes to be vice president. I don't think he's going to be vice president unless they openly steal the vote this time. But, you know, anything could happen. So he's kind of tight-roping. He's kind of fucked, dude. And Vance did succinctly sum it up when he said he did not envy Walz because Walz effectively had to play whack-a-mole with these financial concerns that Americans have, which are clearly the fault of the now clearly Harris administration. We could play fucking denial games and just pretend like, you know, it was all old man Joe Biden all along, but we're realizing more and more that it's been Kamala Harris the whole time. I guess she was kind of just like the acting party taking all the marching orders and executing all of the orders from the uniparty, from the machine politics machine. The political machine of career politicians, I guess, would be a better way of wording that. So that's my personal take on the debate last night. Short and sweet. Sweeter than most of my videos. Shorter than most of my videos. A little more to the point. You didn't get to see my face. You didn't get to see a whole lot of anything. So I'm walking around trying to start my day. Yeah. Since nobody watches my channel, nobody's going to appreciate the genius of my analysis. So, c'est la vie. Have yourself a good morning, and maybe I'll see you this weekend.